Whether you know it or not, your parenting style significantly affects how you sleep train your baby or lack thereof sleep training. We are going to talk about the 4 main parenting styles and how those will affect your sleep training journey, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to sleep train with any parenting style. Let's jump in. The first parenting style that I want to talk about is authoritative. This is probably one of the more common parenting styles that I see when I work with families. And what I do when I work one-on-one with families is I have a full client intake form that is completely comprehensive of everything that you probably didn't know that I need to know about your child and your parenting style when it comes to making you a customized sleep plan. And I always ask parents to select which one of these 4 parenting styles they resonate with, and if both parents have the same parenting style, because that actually significantly impacts the sleep training method that I will use with this family. So these authoritative parents are highly responsive to their children's needs, yet they have clear boundaries. Now, these aren't the most strict parents out there, but they definitely have their rules and expectations that they do expect their child to adhere to and to follow. These parents have structured routines and they are well within meeting their child's needs with clear expectations. This is a very well-balanced approach to parenting while meeting your child's needs. Your child is going to feel safe and secure in their environment, which is the very bottom of the triangle in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. With this authoritative parenting style, we're going to see a lot of parents in this camp using the Ferber method or the check and console method, where you are leaving your child's room after bedtime, you're leaving them in the crib awake, you are walking out of the room, letting them self-soothe, yet you may return at certain intervals where you are comforting your child, reassuring them that you are there and that they are going to learn self-soothing skills on their own. Then we jump into the authoritarian parents. So these parents are different from your authoritative parents because they have high demands and a lower level of responsiveness. That doesn't mean that they're not responding to their child at all ever, but they do have high expectations of their child, maybe even from a very young age, like newborn and infancy. Hopefully not as much as newborns, because we really shouldn't have any expectations of newborns because they rely on us 100%. But as they get older, these parents tend to have a lot more strict boundaries and their children know it. These parents are a lot more strict. They have a lot less flexibility. They're pretty rigid in their rules, and they are more likely to follow the cry it out technique. So basically, where they're putting their kid to bed at the end of the night, they're putting him in the crib while they're awake, they leave the room and they don't go back till morning because guess what, honey? It's bedtime. This is like time for you to learn how to sleep independently. So definitely more strict and rigid. Then we jump into the permissive parents who have very low demands and expectations of their children, and they are very highly responsive. These are the parents who jump at their child the moment that they may wake up in the middle of the night, and they may just jump into sleep prep associations like nursing or rocking back to sleep because they just don't expect their child to be able to self-soothe at all. Now, these parents may also be the parents who are co-sleeping, and maybe they're happy about co-sleeping. So if it's not broken for you, don't fix it, as long as you feel like you're doing so safely and as long as it's sustainable for as long as you plan on doing said co-sleeping. These parents are also likely to be the parents who come to me saying, I've tried everything and nothing works. These parents tend to not really hold consistent routines and patterns, and they don't really have high expectations of sleep training working. And in their case, with their permissiveness, it's not going to work because they're not holding the expectation that it's going to. They just assume from the beginning that it's going to fail. Their child can't self-soothe, and they feel like their child shouldn't have to self-soothe. And if that's your parenting style and it works for you, then fine. No one's here to bash it. I'm just breaking down all the different parenting styles we have out there. Now, this video wouldn't be complete if I did not talk about every single parenting style out there, so I do have to talk on the neglectful parenting style. These are your parents who are not responsive and they have no demands. So opposite of the permissive parents being super responsive, these parents are not responsive at all, yet they also don't have expectations of their child. These parents are disengaged, and their child probably has poor sleep habits because there's just no rules, no routine, there's just no attention drawn to the child at all. So not only does the child not have consistency in their lives, they also don't have that level of safety and security that we talked about with the authoritative parents. These children are more prone to developmental issues that are going to follow them their entire lives. I don't recommend being a neglectful parent. I don't know anybody who would. That's just the nicest way that I can say to meet your child's needs and meet them where they are and have realistic expectations. But with that being said, I'm going to jump into some of my tips and tricks for whatever your parenting style might be and how to make sure that sleep is going well for your child and for your family. Now, if you want more info than what I'm going to give you in these next 5 tips here, then I urge you to click the link in the description box down below. I will also pin it in the comment section, and I will send you my free guide to baby sleep, which is my 5 steps to improving sleep without sleep training. So maybe you're a permissive parent, maybe you're a little more permissive than authoritative or authoritarian, but you still want like a little bit of guidance and structure. This guide is going to help you make sure that your child is perfectly set up for the best sleep environment possible before you jump into formal sleep training. And these tips can go for anywhere from newborn to toddler to preschool, so it's not limited for any age. It is going to set up any child and adult for a good sleep-life relationship. So let's jump into tip number 1, consistency and routines. Now, like I literally say this in every video that I say this in every video. If you have seen other videos on this channel, then you've heard me talk about consistency 95,000 million billion times, but having consistency in your routines and your expectations with your child is going to set them up for success. Now, babies and toddlers and preschoolers and school-age kids and adolescents and teens and adults, we all thrive off of consistency. So having the same routines and expectations, especially at bedtime every single night, is going to set your child up for success. Now, we talked about the neglectful parent being unresponsive to their child, so we need to also remember that if we're being neglectful to our child, they are going to have incredibly high cortisol levels, the stress hormone in their bodies. So if we don't want that, which obviously none of us want our children to be highly stressed out, we need to be emotionally responsive, supportive, and making our children feeling secure and safe in their environment. Now, that safety and security is going to waterfall off of you having consistency in your routines and just your daily expectations for life. So having that consistency is going to help your child to feel that safety and security and have lower stress levels in general. The next tip is to be flexible and adaptable. Now, knowing that as your child ages, their sleep needs are going to change, it's important to be flexible and to know when you need to change your expectations, change your baby's schedule, maybe drop a nap. Maybe it's time to improve their naps by helping them connect sleep cycles during nap time so that they're sleeping for more than an hour during any given nap. So having these expectations at the proper ages is very important. And again, in my free guide that is in the description box and the comment section down below, you will see exactly how much sleep your child should be getting both during daytime sleep and nighttime sleep and total 24-hour sleep. Tip number 4 is to have loving boundaries. Now, you can be an authoritative parent and still be loving, which is exactly what an authoritative parent is. They are very loving, very responsive to their child, yet they also have very clear boundaries. And that seems to be one of the better of the parenting styles. You can be overly authoritarian, you can be overly permissive, and you can, of course, be, any amount of neglectfulness is overly neglectful. So having that middle ground of being loving, responsive, and having boundaries is a great middle of the road for your expectations for your child and really how you raise them in general. Now, I could probably go out on a limb here and say that any parent who identifies as a type A person, they probably are more of the authoritarian parent. Those are the parents who have high demands and less responsiveness because they have very rigid expectations of how they expect things to go day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, and they just want to be on one straight path. If that is you, just try to instill some more loving boundaries with your child, but don't beat yourself up. Now I wanted to touch on a little bit of toddlers and preschoolers, and the last tip that I have for you in this video is to involve and educate your child. If you have a toddler or a preschooler, they are very able and very willing and very excited to be involved, to make their own choices about what pajamas they want to wear to bed, what songs do they want to sing, what books do they want to read. All of those things that they can have control and power over, you really should let them. And if you're going to implement something like my bedtime routine cards found in the description box, or a reward chart, that is something you want your child to be involved in. You want them to pick out their stickers, you want them to pick out their prizes, and you want them to be educated and involved in the process of improving their sleep. So if you're a parent who maybe you weren't very strict about your sleep routines and rules and expectations around sleep when your child was younger, but maybe now that they're getting older, you really want to work on sleep and getting things a little bit in better shape than they were before, then this is a great time to write a social story about your child sleeping in their own big kid bed, or show them big kid beds at cousins' houses or whoever's. If you're somewhere and you see a big kid bed and you want your child involved and educated about rules and expectations about them, then really show them what it is like to be a big kid and having those expectations and having the involvement and education around independent big kid sleep. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a couple things about your parenting style and how it affects your sleep training strategy. And don't forget to grab the free baby sleep guide in the description box down below. If you have a toddler, also check the description box for my free bedtime routine cards. I have a whole video you can watch right here, and check out bedtime routine cards and why they are good for your toddler, preschooler, and even beyond. My kids were school age when they stopped using them. But check out that video after this one and keep blooming. Mwah!